Bruh. Hello, and welcome to Friday's stream. Oh. Let's see. Right. Hopefully you had a good week. So, on Wednesday, I had to cut the stream a little bit short. Well, about 2 hours, but still. Because we had the emergency in the London permongers kind of meaning of that word. we had the emergency GNOME beers because we had Mario visiting over after a while. And also it was the first time a bunch of people using GNOME and within the GNOME community were able to meet after 2 years of the pandemic. So we managed to have a good meetup, and a few beers were had, and really nice burger as well. So it was good fun, but also, holy shit, I missed that. I missed going out to the pub, or at the very least going out and have a meetup of GNOME nerds. Oh, after 2 years is amazing how little things get really more impressive when after a while. Yeah, holy crap. Honestly, it's not something that we used to do like that often. But back when I used to work at Intel and then Endless, we kind of did that every. We had weekly, basically, pub meetings. For the GNOME community, we usually ended up doing that after not every 6 months, but roughly every 3 to 6 months. Let's just give that. And it was great. It was really good. But yeah, then we had this enforced hiatus because we had to stay at home and not meet up because of the pandemic. And yeah, we should really go back and doing that. We should really go back and have some regular meetup. To be honest, there are fewer people living in there are fewer people involved in the GNOME community living in London these days, with companies moving around and people moving around. Also, we're getting older, and there are a bunch of people that are not in their 20s anymore, and they have kids, and they have like responsibilities and stuff like that. So meeting up for a night out isn't in the cards for a lot of people. But yeah, would be nice to have more people meeting up that every GNOME end of GNOME cycle. Hi, youthful lad, and welcome. My plan for today was to try and beat the clock. At 7 p.m. UTC, which means 8 o'clock British summertime, which is the time zone I'm in, This Week in GNOME publishes the weekly update of everything that happened in the past week in the GNOME community. So the cutoff time is right before 7 p.m. UTC, which means that I have less than 4 hours at this point. Of course, I'm not gonna take like 4 hours of stream to do this, but my plan was to do a release of Amberol, and a complete release of Amberol, so published to Flathub as well, before the deadline for this week in GNOME, so I can add an entry for this week's article, including some screenshots and stuff like that. So let's see if I can make it. Let's just say for to err on the side of caution, I will try and do that before 7 p.m. local time. So let's see what we can do. It's going to be a fun one because some stuff happened between Wednesday's stream and now in the Amberol codebase. Let's see if we can show that and see what happens. So let's switch to the main branch, not the topic branch that I was on, and let's see if we can run it. Will take a little bit because it has to build stuff and stuff like that. Hi, Eldon Wage. And welcome. So, okay, it's building. So this is somewhat the expected form factor of Amberol as of now in the main development branch. It's also pretty much the same thing as Amberol 0.2.1, which is the latest version published on Flathub, and so on and so forth, which is fine. But now let's switch to my topic branch I've been working on yesterday mostly and this morning, but roughly. So let's rebuild it. So if I do this, it's going to be Amberol 0.3 anyway. Otherwise, it's going to be Amberol 0.2.2. But we'll see. So now the appearances are kind of barely different. Let's see. Let's add a music folder. And here we go. So now Amberol's preferred layout is portrait mode and not landscape anymore. To be perfectly honest, it wasn't really landscape even before that. The playlist being at the bottom kind of drove the flow of the UI across the y-axis, so along the height, and which means that the change to a portrait mode kind of, well, basically makes sense. Oh, hi, Chipwill. I'm glad you like it. So there are a couple of changes there. First of all, I again flip the orientation of the music information, the song information. The other thing, I split the playback controls into two separate rows, moving the basically the playback controls here are only related to the actual playback, and the cue control, so toggle the playlist, shuffle, the repeat mode, and the menu here are on a separate line. And then I also decided to add a volume control. The volume control is going to be a doozy, so let's go over the rest of the stuff first. The other thing that I changed is that the window is not resizable anymore. So, yeah. doesn't resize. It only moves around. The reason why I did that is because resizing the window kind of was meh. The overall idea is that if you have a large enough text here, you should fit within this area. The title, if the title or the like the author, the artist, or the album name are big enough, they should fit within this. There are still some things that I want to do, like fixing the size, so the cutoff size for the text. And another thing that I want to do is probably at this point have a way to marquee this. The labels are too long, so they will bounce back and forth to show that there is more context instead of just ellipsizing. But that requires a very custom widget, so I'll try not. I'll probably leave it for another release. But yeah, the layout, the switch to the vertical layout, the portrait layout mode is was kind of coming. I mean, I tried to fight it a little bit, but at the end of the day, this is kind of the way. As I said in other streams, the two main inspirations for this application are Muin, which had the previous layout with the horizontal control here, but the vertical playlist, and my the music player on my phone, which it has of course a portrait mode, because that's how you use it. So this kind of pushed me over, like adding the playlist here kind of pushed me over to this new layout. Hi, Martinez. So this is what I thought. I'm usually listening to what the UI is telling me whenever I deal with development of GUI applications. So if the UI is basically just pushing me in a direction, then I will definitely just follow it. I will not try to constrain it into another direction just because I'm convinced it will look like a little bit better. And in this case, yeah, the layout was pushing me in the portrait direction more than the landscape one. So is Rini seen this? I don't think I've ever seen any GTK applications that look like this. I don't know, maybe. It's not something that GTK3 can do it. It's going to be a little bit iffy, but you can probably do it. But a lot of this stuff is essentially, yes, it's me fucking around a little bit with the style machinery, and the other thing that I'm doing is taking advantage of libadwaita and the classes that it provides. If I don't have to care about styling, like third-party styling from other directions, like custom themes or stuff like that, then I can do really good UIs because I know they won't break. Feel so premium. Thank you. But also, yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of interesting things with GTK4 and libadwaita, and yeah, the main trick is to literally not try and so one of main problems. You have two approaches when designing a GUI application. It's the first one is you don't care about changing the UI at all. You only use standard components. You never even subclass your own widgets and create your own. You only do that because you know that somebody will style it and will break something. So you basically just always use standard stuff and never ever ever display any form of taste. So if you rely only on that, then your application will probably work fine under multiple themes and on multiple style sheets and for a large set of users that like to tweak their desktop. But it will also look exactly like anything else, and that it won't look like, it won't have any personal touch. It won't have any personality at all. The other option is to go for broke, do your own thing and design and create your own custom widgets and do everything. At which point you really risk the fact the main risk is that somebody will try and style it and break everything. If it's a downstream user, so if somebody that is installing your application and then like fucking around with the style sheet, that's fine. They will break the application. It's their fault. They will not complain about it. My main problem is when some downstream will try and ship with a different theme and then it will break the application. And when that happens, then the fault is never on the downstream. I mean, the actual fault is on the downstream because they don't test it, but the fault in the user's mind is not going to be on the downstream because they think that theme is approved, like it's tested and it's done correctly. So they will either blame the desktop or they will blame the application developer. And both of them have nothing to do with it. I thought about prepackaged GTK elements, following GNOME HIG. So yeah, libadwaita has like it's a lot of custom. It's a lot of GTK like widgets that are custom in this case because they're not shipped by GTK, but they are also styled and they are all like designed on top of the interface guidelines. So I'm actually not using any custom widget-ish. But the interesting bit is that I can rely on the fact that, for instance, there is a class for circular buttons in libadwaita, and the styling will be correct if the style sheet is dark or not. So it will look okay. I can take advantage of a bunch of well-defined behavior because libadwaita is well documented for that. It documents not only the colors that it will use and the style classes that it will use. So, for instance, whenever I change from a light color or a dark color for the background, I also change the color of the font here. And the color of the font that I'm using is the same color that libadwaita uses for the dark and the light style sheets. Which means that if I change the color here and the controls, I know that they will look correct because they have been tested in dark and light conditions. So I'm relying on the fact that libadwaita ships two different style sheets. And they work correctly in both the light and the dark cases. Which is a really good thing, because at that point I don't have to I only have to care about the stuff that I'm putting into the UI, and I don't have to care about people just messing around with it from the outside. It removes one of the failure points of creating a user interface, especially on Linux and in general free and open source software platforms. So this is the UI, the new UI of Amberol, and I think it's going to be the 0.3 release. But first, I wanted to do a couple of... I wanted to do a little bit of review, because I did a couple of changes here that are useful to know if you're writing a GTK application. I think I have a misconception about GTK works, and now we can create custom style sheet for GTK application. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. libadwaita will even load automatically the style for you. So for instance, in this case, Amberol has a custom style here, which it gets loaded automatically because it's embedded inside the binary. And if you define the path for it inside the binary, then it will libadwaita will automatically load it and apply it. So it's very useful. Like for instance, the way that I do the recoloring is literally just applying the background to the main window here. So yeah, let's yeah, a couple of things that I wanted to add. Oh, thanks for the follow, Jisp 64. Yeah, okay, so a couple of the changes that I've done in this branch. Where is it? Yeah. So apart from restructuring the UI, the layout, I also added the... went way too much back. Further back. Okay, so I added the volume control. So the volume control here does not control the system volume, because that is not something that an application should do in general, but also it's not something that is entirely... it's not easy to do in the system. You have to basically poke pulse audio, or in my case pipewire, directly in order to do that. And again, it's not very nice to do that behind the system's back. So what this does is setting the volume on the connection to the sound server, so pulse audio or pipewire, which means that it's always at the maximum volume here until you decide to scale it down, in which case only the sound from this application will be scaled down. The rest of the system audio will be exactly the same. But also, if you scale down the volume on your system, everything will scale down as well. Which is also something you can do from the sound panel in the system settings. Let's see if I can make that happen. Sound. There we go. So I can change the sound setting, the sound volume here from the system settings. But it will also control the application itself. When playing, the sound will appear there. So the way this is done is is a little bit of message passing here and there, and then configuring GStreamer to do this. And again, it kind of requires pulse audio or pipewire. Basically, you need an actual sound server to communicate to, otherwise it won't work. The other thing that the implementation does is the UI here uses a cubic volume slider. So the progress is cubic here, but it gets interpolated to a linear value when sending it to the sound server. GStreamer does that for you. There's a set of APIs there that are very convenient to use, especially when using them from Rust. So let's go in the backend here. So every time the volume changes on the pipeline, the GStreamer pipeline, we get a notification. We turn the volume from linear to cubic, and then send a message over the channel that we use to communicate between the GStreamer player and the main application. And that will notify the UI from the state there. Let's see. Yeah, we'll update the volume, and then from the UI we will bind the volume property that's on the state. Where is it? Here. Yeah, we bind the property of the volume to the widget that handles the volume slider, which is one of the new custom composite widgets that I wrote for Amberol. So let's go into window control. Window control is basically just a box that contains two icons. Here an icon, and here an icon, and a scale widget here. I decided to take the entire thing and pack it inside a single object, a single widget there, because then I can control the adjustment here, and then I can create a property to read and write, so I can bind it between the state tracking object that manages reflects the state of the player into the widget. It's a very convenient way of abstracting a bunch of code into a separate module and not having to care about it. Which is also what I've done for the entirety of the playback controls. So one of the main problems, let me close this and let's switch back to the main branch. We need to close this. So on the main branch, the window UI is a big file with a lot of widgets that you have to go through, and every time you decide to add a widget, you have to make sure that the XML is indented properly and everything has to close correctly, which is fine. I mean, a lot of people vastly overestimate the requirement for creating a GUI using a GUI development tool, so a UI designer tool, which is fine, you can do it. But if that were true, people also write massive web pages which are just XML these days, a ton of XML with a bunch of JavaScript embedded into them, and CSS on a separate files. And do they use a GUI development tool? They use NeoVim. I've seen people are actually like pushed towards like, oh, you can use Vim to write your HTML, your entire website, like I used to do in 1998. Just okay, that's fine. That's fine. But at that point, honestly, the idea of you have to use a GUI development tool in order to design your GUI application kind of falls a little bit apart. XML is verbose, yes. It's annoying, yes. But it's not the end of the world. And there are ways to make it less annoying to deal with. And one of them is using composite widgets to keep the XML size under control. So switching back to the other branch again. So now the window had a bunch of controls for the media playback. And instead, we can just take them all of them and put them inside a custom widget here. And the custom widget is not so complicated. It's just less than 200 lines of XML. And the window suddenly doesn't get like 150 lines of XML. Oh, you found a bug. Nice. Okay. Yeah, there are a bunch of bugs in 0. Even in 2.1. I fixed a bunch of those already. But again, feel free to open an issue on the issue tracker if you find anything. It's alpha quality software right now, so I expect it. If it doesn't explode, then it's entirely it's all good. I expect it to explode regularly and with a very interesting pyrotechnics. But yeah, again, if you find any bugs whatsoever, just file them on GitLab, and I will try to fix them. Because I know there are a ton of bugs. Again, alpha quality software. This is it's expected. It's expected to break stuff. Yeah, the playback control just moves the menu there, just moves a bunch of widgets there, all the playback buttons, all the Q buttons, Q control buttons, and even the volume control is another custom widget that is a box with three widgets inside it. So I don't have to put it here. I just have to put the custom widget. And it's honestly, this keeps your XML under control to the point where you can actually reason about it. And modifying it is not going to take a long time. And again, if it grows like beyond your ability to control it or to keep it inside your head, you can always split it any further. You can just take it and create other custom widgets. I mean, I could take the entirety of this, I could take the media playback files, media playback controls, and put them inside their own widget as well, and this will reduce the amount of XML in this file. So this is the trick that I and other application developers for GNOME use. The overall idea is, if stuff grows beyond your ability to control it, don't try to shove it inside the same file. In the same way you wouldn't put the entire code base of your application into a single file. You can do it with widgets and controls and XML as well. I know people that have asked for the ability to include XML file inside another XML file, and we're like, no, why are you doing this? Just create a custom template, a new custom widget with a composite template, and just instantiate it. It's fine. It works fine. It doesn't add any more complexity to your application any more than actually it might, even if it increases the code base, and even if it increases the number of files, it actually decreases the complexity, because now you can keep an entire file into your head without any additional problem. and the maintainability also goes up. So what else have I done there? So yeah, volume control, portrait, split the playback controls. Yeah, something that I basically just added is like an hour ago. The what's it called here? You can since like basically last week, you could drag a file on the main window to get the here to get the file queued up. Yeah. So you drop it. What is he doing? Yep. And it's queued up here. I need to deal with this. This is a bug, for instance. But yeah, the idea is that if you instead want to add more than one file, you can drop a bunch of them and it will add them all here. So the support for dragging, dropping multiple files is actually pretty easy to deal with. The code isn't any more complicated than dropping a single file. The idea is that you, instead of asking for a single file, you ask for a file list, and GDK internally will do all the magic to deal with I got dropped a bunch of files instead of a single one, and it will give you a list of files instead of just one. Even if you drop a single file, it will behave like you got dropped a list of files with the length of one. So it's very, very convenient there. Let me see if I can get it here. Where is the drag? Here. So instead of asking for a single file, like GIO file, you ask for a GDK file list. And when you get a GDK file list, you iterate over them. And in this case, we just ignore anything that is not a regular file, ignore anything that is not an audio file. Then we collect them all. We filter, we create a song object out of the file from its URI, and then if we could read it, then we add it to the songs vector, and then we add all the songs in bulk to the player. So this is pretty simple stuff. Right. And again, it works exactly like a single file. It works exactly the same in a single file or multiple file drops. So one possible change would be to, instead of chucking away everything that is not a regular file, if we get a directory, we add all the files in the directory. But I think that will have to wait until I figure out a way to add all the files in a directory that does not block the UI. Right now we queue every single file, which means we parse the metadata of every single file, and then we add it into the queue, basically in a blocking operation. Luckily for us, or luckily for me, I have a fast SSD. But if you have a slow hard drive, then this is going to block for a little while. I have plans for that, but it will it will be interesting to figure out how to deal with this in multi-threaded environment, for instance. Also because it's IO limited. So it would be kind of easy to just say, okay, I'm going to get the list of files here and I create a vector of files. That's fine. And then I switch from this iterator here to a parallel iterator using Rayon, and then collect it. So basically every single iteration of map and filter happens on a separate thread. And it's fine because then it wouldn't block. It would block until we need to collect all the files here, which is fine. It's not great, but it will take a lot less time to do that. Even if it blocked a little bit, it will consume all your cores while doing so. The main problem is that we are not CPU limited. We are not doing like a parallel scan of a bunch of pixels in a pixel buffer. We are reading a bunch of files from the same disk. So we are not CPU limited, we are IO limited. So parallelizing that isn't going to help us in any way, shape, or form. So one way to do it would be to move this entire block here into a separate task using GIO task, or using a future that is connected to the GIO pipeline, the GIO thread pool. And then the UI would be exactly the same, but at the end of the process, we would take the songs that have been created and just add them to the model there. That is also why I implemented bulk addition. So we only have one single operation here that is fast enough, and also we notify only at the end of the operation. So the UI gets updated once instead of updating itself every time we add a new song. So basically what I'm saying is I would have to move all of this block here into well, the entirety of this block here into a GIO task. If I were writing this in C, I would do that. I would create a GIO task and a G task, run it inside a separate thread, go over everything, build a song object out of every single file, and then just discard whatever I don't need, and then return the list of files to add. At which point I would add them, I would splice them into the model in one go inside the main thread. So inside the main thread, I would be able to update the UI, which is fine. I have no idea how to do that in Rust. I have never tried, to be honest with you. So I will have to figure that out, because we're doing this operation here a few times. Well, twice at the very least. This here for drag and drop, and also for adding a new a folder to the playlist. So we are doing exactly the same, plus some light sorting here. But yeah, we're doing exactly the same. So we have a bunch of files and we iterate over them synchronously. So we have to deal with that. So yeah, in C, I would do the enumeration. So I would move the entire enumeration here, and the sorting and the conversion from URIs to song objects into a separate G task, which is a very convenient API, honestly. It's one of the most convenient API in the entirety of GNOME, because it allows you to take a bunch of synchronous operations and move them to another thread, so it doesn't block the main thread, which is the one that is actually running your application. But again, in Rust, I have no idea how to do that. Also, Rust has some interesting considerations when it comes to threads, because the type system is very much thread aware, which means that you have to specify that specific types have the ability to be moved over threads. So I can create an object on a thread and move it to another thread, which means that I would have to modify the song object to be sendable across thread boundaries. So I can collect all of them into a separate thread and then send them over to the main thread where I can add them to the queue. And there is an additional snag in that, is because the song object is actively grabbing the pixel data out of the cover art and uploading it as a GDK texture. And GDK is part of a GTK, and GTK is not thread safe at all. GDK texture technically can be created on a thread and moved to another thread in C, because it's an immutable object post creation. So even in Rust, you can create a GDK texture on a thread and send it to another thread. But I'd have to check, because I don't know if the change that made it so is actually in a release. So I'd have to double check. But yeah, that's kind of the last change I've made in like today. So one thing that I wanted to do now, before merging this branch and, well, at the very least figuring out a bunch of bugs there, was something that was suggested to me. I don't remember if either on Twitter or Mastodon, but it's an interesting suggestion, and I think it's fine to have it. So if I add a folder here, I have a bunch of songs there, and then I close the playlist here because I'm not interested in that. Ideally, if I start playing, I might want the controls here to just disappear. I want this to be maybe just lying here, maybe always on top, like, or I don't know, here, always on top. And I don't care about this stuff because I have media keys, because I have the Empress integration inside GNOME shell. If I move my pointer inside the window, I might want the controls to appear. So what I'm saying is basically have like a Zen mode or a low distraction mode for Amberol. So no media controls, nothing except the song that is currently playing. Which is doable. And let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can make it happen. So the first thing we have to do is moving the playback controls into a separate container. So a GTK revealer, to be precise, which is the same thing that we use for the playlist. So folder, music. So the playlist is hidden behind a revealer here. There we go, there we go, there we go. So we can do exactly the same and pack the playback and queue controls here inside its own revealer, inside the revealer. So let's go here. And there we go. So revealer has a child property here, which means that whenever we pack stuff inside a revealer, we have to pack it inside the child. So we do this, and we do object a revealer. We gave it a playback revealer. Here. And then we do property name child. Okay. We also want it to be visible immediately, so we do child revealed. Sorry, it's not child reveal, it's reveal child. And the transition type is slide down. Exactly like the queue revealer here. Okay, so we save it, and then we have to modify the window here because we have a new child, a new template child. So we put it here. Right before the playback controller, so they are close in the structure. So playback revealer, template child, and then we have to go here. Now we build it and see if the Rust compiler shouts at me, which is part of the experience of any Rust developer, having the compiler shout at you. Okay, and nothing should have changed at all, exactly, because the revealer by itself doesn't do anything. It's just a box there. And we have no control over it right now. So if we just add a song, not a mail, music, and we go here. Okay, nothing has changed. Everything works exactly as it should. Perfect. So now we have to control it. And ideally, what we want to do is whenever we play, let's see. What are the conditions for this to happen? First of all, the playlist must be hidden. The playlist must be hidden because if you have opened the playlist and you want to control everything, it means that you're going to look at the entire thing. So the playlist is open, nothing happens. If the playlist is closed and the the playlist is closed is just enough. And then whenever we leave the window, so if the window doesn't have any focus or anything else, then we hide, we unreveal the child. And whenever the pointer enters the window, then we reveal it. It's kind of like, yeah. So whenever the pointer leaves or enters, we change the revealer state. So how do we do crossing states? In GTK 3 we had two events. One was enter and the other one was leave. So basically on enter you do something, and whenever the pointer enters and whenever the pointer leaves, you get to separate events. GTK4 has gestures now. So there should be a crossing mode. No. See if there is an event controller. There's a motion. So I think we'll have to go on the C documentation because I know the C documentation a little bit better. Motion. Event controller motion has an enter and leave. So we need a motion controller. Okay, a motion event controller attached to the window. So yeah, event controller motion here, that's fine. And then we connect enter and then we connect leave. So let's go inside the okay, we have a setup drop target. Let's do object setup crossing. Okay. Here. Yeah, we do a similar thing. So here. When set up crossing. So we do a GTK event controller motion here. Okay, controller motion. And then we add it. We'll have to. No, we'll just add it. Self. This is going to be different. It's going to be add controller. And then we want to connect motion, connect enter. Where is it? Yeah, connect enter, and we need a function that has, well, a closure that has the motion event controller here and two floating point values for the coordinates of when we enter inside the widget. So this is going to be clone with strong self as when, and then we're not interested in that. Not even interested in the coordinates, to be honest with you. And then we can do this when in playback revealer. So let's go back here. Right, where are you? Yeah, set reveal child. Yeah, this is toggling the visibility here. So we go back here, set reveal child true. Then we have motion, connect, leave. This one doesn't get anything except the event controller there. Right now we're doing it very like just shotgunning it. Now let's see if the Rust compiler will shout at me. Pretty sure it will. Hi, Georges. It didn't. What? Okay. So, okay. Oh, yeah. I know why that happened, right? Because we're leaving the window. Yeah. As I said, I'm shotgunning it. So, because what we really want to know is if the pointer is included inside the surface of the window, so including its children, of course. So when we are leaving the window at all, we do at this point we really need the controller here. Things pointer. If not there, then we hide it. And if controller contains pointer, we reveal it. Yeah, if I forget to capture that, this is what happens. Okay. So go. Okay. It's not actually working. It's probably because there are a bunch of other controllers here and there. There are a bunch of other controllers here and there, like the drag one as well. It's probably capturing a bunch of stuff there. So let's debug it here. Okay. Enter. Let's see. We'll have to debug it a little bit. Yeah, if we can manage to make a Zen mode kind of version of the UI. Okay. So now we enter. The window contains the pointer, and we leave. Okay, we left. Let's see if that changes. It's the... I mean, in GTK3, this would be the internal detail of the crossing event, which is an X season. Basically, you would say, okay, right, so it's opposite day. What am I doing? Okay. Okay. So it's opposite day. So let me think. So we enter, the window contains the pointer, and now we leave. Now we leave, and the window contains the pointer. Okay. Okay. We enter here because this is the area of the shadow. Here. Okay. Right. Yeah, the structure is different. Oh, lost the stream by my asking particularly enough to use GK volume button. I don't particularly like GTK volume button. I don't want a button here. I want to show the actual volume. And the other thing is again, this is, it kind of follows the layout, the flow of the layout. So if it's in portrait mode, then adding another button that goes instead up and down, it's a little bit weird. Instead, the scanning, visually scanning the UI layout, the layout of the UI, it goes like from top to bottom, and then go here, and then you visually scan the fact that all the volume is all the way to the top. Instead, in a volume button, you would have an actual button that hides everything, and then you have to press it to just move it up and down. The other reason is, if anybody wants to put this on a mobile device and then wants to basically use it as a mobile music player, then this is going to be a little bit more touch efficient than volume button. So okay, window locked under. We need to toggle this. So let revealer is where are you? Is child revealed. It would be so cool to use WebAssembly. You cannot use WebAssembly with GTK. You'd have to compile GTK with WebAssembly, and also you would have to compile all the dependencies with WebAssembly, and then you would have to run a Wayland client from the from a web UI, which is not going to happen. Yeah, running WASM, using Rust to build. I mean, if you want to use Rust to WASM yourself out of any issue and then run it inside a web UI, then yeah, that's fine. But it won't work that way. Okay. It would be interesting to understand why the leave here. So the pointer has left the widget. Yes. We want to know if it has left the widget. So of course the pointer is not going to be there anymore because it has left the widget. But yeah, so a bunch of people have asked in the past if can I use like Rust and GTK and then compile to WASM and then run whatever I am running inside my web browser and with my GTK application on my web browser, or like in an Electron kind of thing, which is not really possible. Also, there is no real point in building your GTK UI and then run it inside a web browser. Unless you're, so you can run GTK inside a web browser using the Broadway backend. It's useful if you are doing remoting. So a bunch of people use it for that way. A bunch of people actually use it in production. So you run your GTK application locally, and then you have a web browser that connects to the Broadway server, which is like a small web server. And in GTK4 is actually fairly efficient because GTK4 will send HTML and CSS directly to the web server, and then the web server will send it to you over HTTP, which means that the entire user interface is basically just a giant web page that is actually a bunch of HTML elements, not canvas like in GTK3. GTK3, you would get a literal a bunch of pixels over the wire, and then would be displayed as as part of a HTML canvas. Again, that is fairly useful if you want to remote a GTK application. You have your GTK application on your server, and then all the clients connect to it over a web interface. Otherwise, if you have a GTK application, then just run it. Don't run it inside a web UI. So, okay. Yeah, I know that's unused variable. It's fine. So we enter, and no, that should not happen. Leave. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how this stuff actually works. So let's see. I have the drag overlay here. The drag overlay here is should be using an enter and leave as well. Okay. Yeah, when the drop target, no, where are you? It's gonna drop notify, okay. It's probably inside the, where are you? No. No, it's not here. Oh, I set can target. No, it should. So connect, and when there's a drop target, we reveal it. Let's see if we can get the that is a good point. Yeah, when I use open Amberol, there's some music. I think music controls are not needed. The main problem is that so all of this is music controls. Okay, all the entirety of all the buttons are music controls, so it should not be. If I don't display them, you cannot add anything unless you drag stuff on top of the window, which is not a great experience. Let me see. So here, okay, we can do can target. Okay. I need to figure that out. Why is it not working there? So let's drop this and try and figure out why. There you go. And also we're going to remove this, or maybe not. Let's do this. So yeah, I understand that point. Yeah, the main problem with like removing all playback controls is that I would have to split the controls here again, which is something that I didn't want to do. So let's see. Let's go over it logically using the pointer. So we enter the area of the window, and the window contains the pointer. And now we leave because we are inside the window, but a child of the window is still contains the focus. Right. We are also entering the... Okay. So let's add more cases here. If controller contains pointer, plus descendants, and let's also add it here. Plus descendants. This should tell you that I don't use this API that often. Actually, I think it's my second time I've used it. Okay, so we enter the area of the window here, and the window contains the pointer, and the window and these descendants contain the pointer. So we move into the window, and now the window, we got a leave, but the window and its descendants still contain the pointer. Now we still contain the pointer, even if we leave. And then we leave. The window contains the pointer, and the window and its descendants contain the pointer, and now we leave again. We're not getting a leave, actually. What the fudge? We're not getting a full leave. What the hell? Is this an X thing? Ah, God, I hate it. I hate X. So maybe all we want to really know is if it contains pointer nullify. Maybe. And we do this. And then we do we should be getting a leave event with the everything not containing any the pointer here. So we're getting the enter, and now the window contains the pointer. The window contains the pointer is false. What the fuck? It's completely fucked. I bet the problem is that we have another drop. Yeah, we have the drop target event controller, and we are kind of screwed there. So literally, if we remove all of this, and then let me think, 1 second. Like we can remove a bunch of focusing stuff there. So, like the song details here. Like we don't care about focusing there because there's nothing to focus. This is so weird. I don't know if it's because of X or because of Wayland. Yeah, I'm getting a bunch of... Why is it telling me that it's not containing the pointer? What the hell? So we enter and we get true and false at the same time. What the fuck? This is so weird. I don't know if this is a GTK bug or it's a weirdness inside X. Okay, this explains it a little bit. When handling crossing events, this probably is updated before GTK event controller motion enter and after GTK motion control event controller motion leave is emitted, which is fine. Which means that we shouldn't be using enter and leave if we are looking at the contains pointer property. That explains a bunch of weirdness that I noticed there, but contains pointer should be okay with it. Because now we're using just that, and instead I'm getting like a double emission here. Yeah, I'm getting literally like true and false at the same time. This looks like a... I don't know. It looks like a GTK bug to me. Or an X11 bug. Okay, so I think we'll have to skip this for this release because it's so weird. So let's switch scene mode. Yeah, and then snapshot work in progress. Okay, we got it. Let's close all of these files. So that was weird. I have to ping Carlos or somebody else at this point, because that is definitely not what I expected, unless it's a like a GTK bug. Let me double check. Okay. Crossing and no, there is nothing there. Yeah, I'll have to ping Carlos on the IRC channel, because this is weird. That should just not happen. I don't know if it's a problem inside adwaita, libadwaita, so it could be an adwaita application window issue, since it does it has to handle the dragging by itself, because it doesn't have it has window controls all over the window. Maybe it's claiming the motion. It shouldn't do that. Like for simple motion. Then we have the drag overlay on top, which has its own drop target controller there, but that should not handle anything unless there's a drop. So yeah, that may be a weird interaction, or that may be just a bug in GTK. Yeah, we'll have to ask somebody involved in the input layer, which is Carlos. Okay, so we cannot do the Zen mode, unfortunately, because of that. I might do a if I figure something out after today, then I might do a sneaky 0.4 release with that feature enabled. Otherwise, I'll just wait until I figure something out. Yeah. Another thing that I want to check, because it might be iffy a little bit. Let's go inside the queue. Right. So right now the song title. So if I add an entire folder here, the playlist gets resized to fit the entirety of the text here, which resizes the entire window. So I think what we want to do here is add a limit. So we add a limit of width bars of 20. Yeah, the size is the same, it's just bold, so we do 20 here as well. And then we allow ellipsization. Size. Same thing. Here. So let's rerun it. So now if we open the folder here, yep. Probably a little bit too much. We can probably fit a few more characters there. Let's see. Let's add 35. I don't want the window to resize to like a lot. Yeah, that's a lot more appropriate. Yeah, after all, we can... I have to mute my desktop so I don't get... And this one, yeah, gets resized here. Yeah. Okay. Right, so we can also do this. Set a limit for the label size, label width. That should avoid 7 resizes of the application window when loading songs. Okay. So let's push this to the merge request that I opened. Here. Yeah, there are a bunch of changes there. Okay. So yep, yeah. I'm still puzzled about that motion event controller. It's so weird. Ideally, the contains pointer should be the thing that we use to track whether or not the pointer is inside the surface of the window, and that should work. But getting getting true false at the same time, then false true again, it's just so odd. Okay, so we'll have to wait a little bit here because the pipeline is running and it will take a little while. Usually it doesn't take long for the first step, but for the second step for generating a flatpak, then takes about like 7-8 minutes. So ideally that should be a little bit. Okay. Yeah, the flatpak just started. Okay, so we'll take a little bit. So yeah, I think this is good enough for a 0.30 release. Again, I want to figure out why the contains pointer property gets notified this way. Such a weird way. And if that happens, then I can add the Zen mode in a separate release. I mean, it would be nice to have like this release here and then the Zen mode in a separate release, so I have more stuff to announce on this week on GNOME. Yeah, maybe it'll happen. But yeah, doing a release is going to be interesting. I have an additional. Oh, this commit here is going to be. So it's been noted on either Mastodon or Twitter. I never remember which social that happens on. But basically, if you need a special MIME type supported inside your desktop file. Otherwise, the GNOME settings will not be able to show your application as a potential preferred application for playing music. So I had to add it. I honestly didn't know that was required. It's undocumented, so I will have to modify the documentation for the GNOME developer for GNOME developers, because that is completely hidden inside the GNOME control center settings. That is not something. There is not common knowledge. You basically have to copy the MIME type field of a desktop file for another application into your own, which is not great. I'll tell you that. I mean, Totem goes to the extent of literally generating the desktop file by having a text file with all the possible MIME types that it supports, and then has a script that basically just takes the contents and inlines them so that they can be embedded inside the desktop file, which is, well, too much. I'd say it's too much. But yeah, that's so weird. Okay, the first build succeeded. And now we have the second build. Because apparently we are like hobbits and we need a second breakfast. But yeah, even after like 20 years, I still discover new things about how the platform is put together, apparently. 20 years of contributions, and now, oh, did you know that you have to add a special MIME type? Otherwise, GNOME Control Center will not list your application as one of possible defaults. Okay. Okay, I'm still building. And then I will have to take all the new screenshots. And I will have to edit them, of course, because the screenshots that GNOME Shell takes are not good according to the upstream validation utility. How do you demo what your GTK apps will look like? They look like exactly that. I don't honestly understand what what looks like means in this context. I mean, I just ran them. GNOME Builder sets up an entire sandbox that is not exactly like the sandbox in which the application will run when installed over via Flatpak, but the idea is that it still runs sandboxed. and it's built against the SDK that that you targeted. So ideally, that should basically do pretty much the same thing that it does when it's run over Flatpak, like installed from Flathub, but it doesn't really require anything else. You can probably, I mean, if you want to verify that stuff works against other themes, I don't think we have a simulator for that. Would be interesting to maybe add it to GNOME Builder, basically just run it. You can, in theory, just set up a bunch of like build preferences. You can do like GTK theme, Yarrow Dark, and if you want to simulate against Ubuntu, I don't have Yarrow Dark installed, so I have no idea if that works, but okay. Oh, okay. Let's see if oh, okay. Haha, that's a very good question. So how do you design an application? that's a very, very interesting, it's actually a very interesting topic, because it's a complicated like thing to do. The way I've done it when working with the design team, with the GNOME design team and other design teams, like in a professional setting, I literally started it off from paper and pen and paper. Just random rectangles. It's absolutely fine. 90% of the times is actually exactly what the design team would do. Otherwise, you can so lab teams design. The design team has a bunch of how's it called? Resources. That is resources for making mockups. Literally, like templates of patterns. Let's see if GitLab. Yeah. Yeah. Here, you get SVG templates for a bunch of like stuff of patterns that you can modify and edit the way you want it to. But yeah, you can mock up stuff directly from usually Inkscape. Here, like, or if you're like wireframing, these are like stock widgets that you can reuse, and they are available in both light and dark style sheets. So the design team usually starts from pen and paper and then moves to the mockup templates on using Inkscape, and then it depends. Sometimes like Jakub will do like motion wireframes using Blender because he knows how to use Blender. Otherwise, people just use a little bit of imagination to do wireframing. But yeah, otherwise, I usually, for myself, start from pen and paper. I have my notebook here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can find right, so one of my initial, I don't know if you can see it, one of my initial like ideas for a playlist and stuff is like literally pen and paper. Or if I'm doing like I was like drafting some of the initial ideas for the playback controls. Let's see here. Yeah. So it's just lots and lots of pen and paper like mockups. Works pretty fine. I tend not to touch code until I have a very rough idea of how everything is put together already. In some cases that works out pretty well. In other cases it doesn't. I discover stuff. Yeah, I discover where the application wants to go while I'm writing it. It's like writing a book. You discover what the characters want to do while they're doing it. Okay, so yeah, let's merge this. Here we go. And pull main. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, so first of all we need to copy all of this and move it back because we're doing release. Remove this and remove this, and then this is going to be 0, 3, 0, and it's going to be released today. 04 15th. You are trying to start with Cambalachi. So yeah, Cambalachi is the main issue with Cambalachi right now is that it's still in development and it's very bleeding edge. So if you start using Cambalachi, you are also signing up to debug and develop Cambalachi. It's unavoidable. It's a very new piece of software. In hopefully 6 months time, GNOME Builder will be ported to GTK4, and we'll also have the drawing component, which will allow you to design user interfaces using right within Builder itself. Having said that, they are not UI design tools. They are mostly ways of like putting together a UI that you already have an idea, a rough idea about it. So if you already know how the UI is put together, they will help you generate a bunch of XML for you, which is great because then you don't have to write XML. Having said that, and as I said right at the beginning of the stream, the writing XML, the complexity of writing a UI by writing XML is vastly overstated. You can do it. You can start like that, but in that case, you really have to have a very clear picture of what the UI will look like, so that you can translate it into XML and code, which is something that I know there are people that have issues with that. There are people that have difficulty visualizing things in their head. It's perfectly fine. I know, for instance, that the GNOME Builder maintainer has aphantasia, so he cannot visualize things in his head. He has to see them. He has to make them concrete in order to see them. There are people that have no inner monologue. They cannot hear themselves. They cannot hear their thoughts. They have to verbalize them, for instance. There are people are different, and everyone is actually as their own thing, as their own ways of dealing with creating stuff. So in my case, I can actually see, I can actually visualize this, the UI before I can do it, so I don't have to care about it. But yeah, I know that other people have issues with that, so they will use a UI design tool to visualize their the UI while they're doing it. So this is not added and this is not removed. So what we added one thing, which is multiple files, and what we changed is switch to portrait layout, and then we also added application added volume control, and we added now Amberol to be set as the default application for music in GNOME settings. So what else? And then oh yeah, no, this one I already mentioned it. Oh yeah, no, it's a fix. So start playing when opening a file from the command line. Well, not from the command line. Yeah, basically, if you run like Amberol and you do Amberol open file, it will immediately queue and start playing. But also, if you do open with, like right click open with on a music file, it will immediately open and start playing, just like it would on like Totem or anything else. The rest is already there. Oh no, yeah, I also added shuffling. Let's see. Yeah. So added I'm curious about your thought on how to support apps that seems like the workload has exceeded bandwidth on maintainers. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a complicated topic. That's a very complicated topic. It's an interesting topic as well, but yeah. So I'll assume for a second we're talking about GNOME applications. There is a discourse to be had that encompasses like other applications. The GNOME case is both simpler and more complicated, which is, yeah, it's hilarious, but yeah, it is. So every single project under the GNOME group is accessible to all the people that are part of the GNOME group by design. So if, like, say you have the commit bit inside the GNOME, you're part of the GNOME group on GitLab, then you have access to every single project there, like GTK or glib or I don't know, I think Geary is there, Totem, GNOME settings daemon, GNOME control center, anything that is under a GNOME group you have write access to. Again, this is by design. We used to do that back in the day when we were using CVS as well. The reason why that happens is that this allows drive-by changes by other GNOME maintainers. So let's say somebody's doing a project-wide change, they will be able to fix stuff across multiple projects. Or at the very least, they will be able to fix things that are broken across multiple projects, for instance. But also, it will allow projects that have been neglected or their maintainers have had too much on their plate, it will allow other people to take over, as long as they're part of the GNOME group. Again, this is entirely by design. It's something that happened like from the very beginning, and it's something very ingrained inside the GNOME culture. So, for instance, in my case, develop was basically unmaintained. The maintainer decided to leave the project entirely. It's fine. We needed to get develop ready for the GNOME 40 release, so I decided to pick that up. And I didn't have to go through any additional hoops or any additional like challenges, because I'm already part of the GNOME group, and I'm also, for lack of a better word, I'm a well-known person in the community. So I basically said, okay, I decided to pick up develop. I'll do the release, and I'll pick up the changes that are needed there. That is fine. This puts you in a little bit of a catch-22, because in order to be able to enter the GNOME group, you need to be able to demonstrate that you already have a bunch of contributions inside the GNOME community and the GNOME codebase. So what happens if you want to help out or take over a project that is part of the GNOME group, and you're not, the maintainer of the project is not responsive because they are doing something else. They are busy with work or busy with life. That happens a lot. So what happens in that case is that you cannot get in because you're not part of a GNOME group, and you cannot contribute to the project because, of course, if the maintainer is busy, they will not be able to review your contributions, and they will not be able to vouch for you when you ask for like the GNOME account. And yeah, that is the catch-22. It's harder to do that. So one way around it is try to contribute to other projects, get unblocked, get the commit bit or get the GNOME user account, and then at that point you can basically just say, okay, I have time to deal with this project that is currently under-maintained or unmaintained, so I'll pick up the slack there, and I'll do code reviews and do merge requests and stuff like that. But of course, at that point, you are now like involved in multiple projects in order to get the commit bit, and yeah, these shouldn't be needed. One thing that you can do is ask the release team. The release team theoretically is there to do releases when the maintainers are not able to, but also they are there to unblock projects that are currently under maintained, or are having problems or unmaintained. So if you want to take over something, or at the very least help out with something, then you could get the release team to help you out and basically just say, okay, I've done, so this project isn't very like heavily maintained, or is under maintained, or is completely unmaintained. Any of these three cases. I've been doing a bunch of reviews on merge requests. I open a bunch of merge requests. There is no feedback from the maintainer for more than, I don't know, 3 to 6 months. At which point you basically just contact the release team on Discourse or Matrix or whatever and say, I put in the work to help the maintainer out or to keep the project alive. Now all I need is the ability to actually like merge stuff. And in theory, the release team could help you out. Could help you out by merging stuff for you, or at the very least like poking the maintainer to see, hey, there is somebody that wants to contribute. Can you at the very least like unblock some of the stuff there? And if push come to shove, you can put the release team as a reference when you ask for a GNOME the GNOME user account. Of course, the precondition to all of that is putting in the work. So doing issue triage, or doing a merge request reviews. So that if you go through the open merge requests and you do a full review of the contribution there, then it already tells the release team or anybody else that you are familiar with the code base, and you are familiar with the code base enough that you feel confident enough that you can say, okay, this code should be changed this way, or this code should not be, or this code is okay. So doing code reviews usually is a great way of telling you care enough and you know the code base well enough that you can deal with it as a maintainer. But yeah, it's a very complicated topic. It's a topic that covers a lot of problems there, that covers a lot of ground. There are downsides to any solution, and also it's kind of weird because every single maintainer is very much consider their project very much their fiefdom, and even when they have no time at all, they still think, I will be able to come back and fix stuff and work on my stuff, and that is almost always never the case. Yeah, Sophie, it's absolutely true. As soon as you start popping up in the in Matrix or in the issue tracker or whatever else, you start getting noticed, and once you start getting noticed, then it's easy to get other people to vouch for you to get a GNOME account, at which point you basically are a GNOME maintainer, at which point you can do you can pick up stuff yourself. Okay. So we haven't removed anything yet. At some point we will. I guarantee you that. So 3.0. And okay, the changes, the meson build, we need the upstream data here. There's going to be a new release here. Um, 03 is here. And date 204 15. This time it's still going to be a development release because I don't want to give I don't want people to get their hopes up. Let's see if I can get I don't have any description. Oh, I never remembered that, how that works. No, data. Okay, what goes inside the release tag? So releases. Okay, description there. So I'm tempted to just say bug fixes and performance improvements, but I'm not going to do that. So we are going to do just let me see, 1 second. Description tag here, paragraph, ordered list, and unordered list. Okay, so we go for an unordered list. Okay, where are you? Okay. Why am I tabbing? It's here. Then volume control. Then we can do a UI refresh. Then oh yeah, support settings. No, no. Saying Amberol as the default music player in GNOME settings. I do hope this format is correct. Let's see. Gonna build it. It's still a development release, but I don't want to I want to make it a little bit better. Especially when presenting it on Flathub using the, what's it called? Like the changes manifest there. Otherwise, just listing bug fixes and performance improvements is kind of an inside joke, but it's funny. It's funny to me, at the very least. The build succeeded, and now we can look at the upstream file. It seems to be correct, but we know that this might not be the case. Also, we'll need to change the screenshots here. So we are going to use the new location that I've made. Screenshots. Let me double check one thing. Need to check on my server. What is the structure? Okay. So it's going to be screenshots 0.3 and Amberol 1. So we're going to copy it. And here. Let me double check another thing. 2, 3. Okay. So maybe just 2 screenshots. We don't need like a ton of them. But I'll have to take more of them. So let's run it. And this time I will take a screenshot that does not contain the development style. So we are going to do this. Let me remove this. Okay. Then we're gonna add a folder again. So we're gonna take a screenshot like this. What the fudge? I know what this is. This is some some inspector bullshit. Okay. Oh, thank you, and take care as well. Okay, so window here and take a screenshot. I know what it is, and I hate the shit out of this. So let's do something else. Let's do this. Make it active and run it. Let's build the profile. Oh, no worries. Absolutely. It's, I mean, yeah, dealing with how to start a project is always kind of problematic in many ways. So the beginnings are kind of hard for everyone. A beginning is the time for taking the most delicate care that balances are correct. Just to quote Dune. What is it doing? Okay. I know what it is, and I know that I don't like it, but let's do this. Okay. Yeah, sometimes, especially with Rust, sometimes builder gets confused. So, okay. We'll have to take the screenshots, and then we'll have to edit the screenshots, and then upload the screenshots. It's gonna be fun, fun, fun. This is why I enjoy maintaining libraries. The issue when opening a file will not play it. I think so, yeah. I think I fixed that. It was just a case of not skipping to the actual song. I had to do a couple of fixes there, but yeah, it should work now. Yeah, switching the build profile is also because it has to create a completely separate cache directory, re-download all the dependencies, and then rebuild it, rebuilding everything, so you cannot use the same cache. So it's a little bit painful. Oh, and I have half an hour to go before I can push it to Flathub. So taking screenshot, we can put a chair on top of a cake. It would be It would be nice if that were the case. Sadly it's not. It's part of the release process, and you have to literally just have to deal with this painful process of taking a screenshot, then resizing it so that it doesn't do weird stuff, and the how's it called, the transparent pixels that are the validation process is so weird and undocumented that basically it's so painful to do. Again, that's why I enjoy maintaining libraries, because I don't have to take screenshots. I don't have to modify the update file either. I just need to write the changelog and then just upload the tarball. And that's done. For applications, it's so complicated. Actually, let me double check one thing, because George just put my okay. Yeah, if the you open a file and if the queue is size 1, then we start playing immediately. Okay, so we can play it. Okay, so let's see if we can add a folder, add music here. So okay. Okay. So let's try and take a screenshot of this here. Taken. Let's take another screenshot. Let's close this and take another screenshot. Okay, so now we have 2 screenshots. It's gonna be fine. Okay, so we'll need to move the screenshots somewhere else. So let's move them from pictures, screenshots, 15. We have a bunch of those. Okay, so it's going to be the latest ones. So 18, 30, 22. It's going to be data screenshots 1, and then 3043 is going to be Amberol 2. Then we remove, or we add those. And we remove three. Okay. We do this because they are referenced inside the README file. But also, now we have to copy them. Screenshots, Amberol 1, 2, PNG to my BPS. Okay, yeah. This way we don't accidentally overwrite the screenshot for the older versions that are still referenced in the updata file. So No, I cannot do this now because I'll have to do this. So it's going to be this, projects, data screenshots. Let's open these two. I have to modify them because now I have to do crop to content here and here. And we are going to replace it. Yes. And this as well. Okay, so let's re-add them. And then we'll have to re-upload them. So annoying. So let's see if the linting process works again. Seems to be working. Okay. Instead of doing this on the main branch, we do git switch c release 0 3 0. Okay. Now we're gonna see if this works out. Okay, where are you? Capture a screenshot is bigger than the actual window. Yes, I know. It's not really. The window contains the shadow and the because it's client side, the shadow and the little border around it. The screenshot is literally what GNOME shell provides. So in theory, it would be nice if GNOME shell, since GNOME shell knows exactly where the shadow is, because it's part of the information that it gets sent over the windowing system. In theory, GNOME shell could take a screenshot that only covers that information, that the actual window. But until it does, GNOME shell will take the screenshot of the entirety of the window surface, and that window surface includes the client-side shadow. It's kind of unavoidable. I mean, you cannot see it, but there's a shadow that goes over and over here. And the shadow is drawn by the actual window, is not drawn by the compositor. So this is what happens. Okay, let's see the pipeline. This one works. Let's go over the flatpak. And we'll see if I please the upstream util gods and the app data is actually correct. And if it is, then we can merge it, tag it, dist it, and then update the manifest on Flathub and publish the new version. We can also, no, I cannot do this now. In order to dist it, I need to have the merged branch. Yeah, another release on stream on a Friday, just like last week. Yeah, I'm mostly worried about the app data stuff. It's I've got into the habit now, but it's so random and essentially undocumented that I never know if anything will happen that will break it. It's very brittle. And sadly, this is what Flathub uses. So I need to take care of that. I need to be mindful of that. Okay, second build. And now it has to build a bundle. Yeah, once we have that ready, then we can I can dist, so I can create a tarball with all the Rust dependencies vendored in, and then take that and upload it to GitLab, and then use the location of that inside the Flatpak manifest for Flathub. So there are a bunch of moving parts that I'm not overly fond of. Ideally, it would be possible for Flathub to be pointed at a specific commit and then build from that commit. So it would not require me running the dist locally on my machine. The main problem with that is that I would have to list all the dependencies inside the Flatpak manifest, and that is a mess. There are tools that generate that, but they never actually work for me. I would love I would love to have them work for me, so I didn't have to go through the gauntlet of the dist and everything else. But we'll see. Hmm. 70 minutes. 70 minutes. Come on. Weird looks for the Flathub builder tools. Oh, of course. Oh, God. Fucking hate this. Okay, so, quick. App data. No, I have to switch back. God, how I hate this. And the screenshots. How can I cannot fix the screenshots. I cannot fix the screenshots. It's like width too small, 478. Okay, minimum is 624. What the I absolutely love the fact that it will tell you the width that is too small, but if the height is too large, it won't tell you how large it is. I swear to God, I will find this code and I will torch it. This is a strong cup of bullshit. Christ. Okay, okay. Let me think, let me think. And of course, I have to rebuild the entire thing because I switch branches. Think. I mean, the evilest thing I can do is literally fall back to the old screenshots. Which is mental. I guess that's why all the screenshots are always the same. What is the point of having an app store if updating stuff doesn't work? Yeah, it failed at Flathub. Color palette as a pretty small screenshot. Yes, it does. I have no idea why. I have no idea why it's failing now. God damn it. I mean, I'll take it, and you know what I'm gonna do? I am going to resize it in GIMP. I don't know if you can disable upstream validation on Flathub. It would be quite weird if you could. GitLab. color palette here. Yeah, I don't know if they have GitHub, Flathub. How's it called? Palette. Okay. Yeah, I don't see any anything that disables validation there. Yeah, no, it does the validation exactly like it does everywhere else. If you know how to do it, Georges, now is the time. Flathub JSON. Okay. 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 Oh, that looks great. Okay, so fuck it. We'll do it live. Okay. Okay. We need a new terminal. So, versus. Minimum requirements that are unspecified anywhere. Okay, so let's see. Thank you, Georges. Let's see if that works. Yeah, I at least I want to pass the description bit for the release. Where are you? Here. and then I'll figure it out. As far as I know, it's the same. Because so it's very, at the very least, it's very similar. I know that the tool has options. The strict validation is already disabled. But yeah, I have honestly don't know. As far as I know, the CI pipeline on GNOME's GitLab for Flatpak uses the exact same incantation that Flathub uses because it has to publish stuff on Flathub. So theoretically, it should be the same. It's not the same as the upstream utility that we use locally, but the strictness is between the CI pipeline and Flathub should be the same. God, I hate this bullshit. And honestly, even if it's not the same, even if it passes on Flathub and doesn't pass on the GitLab CI, it's exactly the same. I cannot do a proper release if it doesn't pass here. It's blocking me anyway. So and I know it's grating that every time I have to deal with this stuff on stream, I complain about it. You have no idea how many bad words are currently swirling in my head. I would violate most of the Twitch terms of service. So honestly, at this point, we should just remove this bit from our CI pipeline. It's just, no. It's a stupid game and nobody should play it. I'll take another 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah, Flathub removes the screenshot caption. So, another fun fact. The caption is, in theory, there to provide not like textual information for people that can actually see the screenshot. It's supposed to be used to provide like a description for people that cannot actually see the screenshot. Nevertheless, the caption size, according to upstream utils, to the validation tool in upstream utils, cannot be longer than 20 characters, 30 characters. What in the name of fuck? It's absolutely gobsmackingly bad. It's stupid in a way that I cannot even comprehend. It is literally the definition of inaccessible software made by GNOME developers who are basically the last stalwart for accessibility in free and open source software. It's bonkers. It's absolutely way stupid, and I have no idea how that ever was considered okay by anybody in the pipeline that ran from let's do this thing to let's commit this stuff, let's merge it, and let's publish it. It's what the fuck? And I know all the people involved in the process, and I have no idea why on earth they decided to let this pass. It's just, were they drunk? Were they on drugs? I have no idea. Probably sleep deprived. It's absolutely mental. I have no idea what the fuck were the people thinking when they did this. God damn it. And the spec is another useful piece of shit as well, because it doesn't specify anything. It's just word vomit about how the stuff is structured, but it doesn't literally tell you the default values, what are the combination of possible values. It doesn't give you examples. It doesn't tell you how the validation works. It doesn't tell you what kind of validation it even performs. It's... what the fuck? This is amateur hour. This is literally amateur hours. I've done specifications when I was 17 that were more accurate than this. God, what the fuck? This entire area of application development should be like nuke from orbit and restarted from scratch, because it's ridiculous. It's like an alien made a specification from a description made by random people on the street about how a Linux application should be described. It's... what? And I hate saying this because, again, I know all the people involved. And I hate saying this because it's just... it's unkind, and I don't like being unkind in that regard, especially to people that I know and I respect. But Jesus Christ. God fucking damn it. Okay. Okay. You win. You absolute piece of shit. You win. You absolute pile of crap. You absolutely and completely and totally win. Want that? You get that. Exactly that. The screenshot in the README will be different, but the screenshots here will be not. Fuck you. And fuck you and fuck you. And next week, I am literally going to town on this bullshit. The only reason why I do things these days is because I fucking hate something and I work out of spite. And this stuff will be... If it's the last thing I do, this stuff will get removed. Fucking hell. Swear to God. And this, kids, is why I don't code with pulse meter. So you can see my heartbeat, my heartbeat monitor. Because if you could see my heartbeat monitor right now, it would not be safe. Anyway, okay. This stuff will get merged. We don't care about any of this. It's fine. Yeah, it's not just passion. It's just pure and fucking hatred at this point. Usually to get a rise out of me, like of this level, it's either going to be like a build failure of catastrophic proportions, or you basically need to put like 3 pints in me, 3 pints of beer in me, and then I will tell you exactly what I feel. In this case, it's... yeah. No. In this case, and it's just pure and like distilled hatred at this point. That sounds really bad. Yeah. Poorly aged sentences. Yes. The fact is, when you said that, I told you this is what I expect, because this is what always happens, and this is my bête noire. It's just something that I fucking hate. And I knew it would happen. I didn't know it would happen this badly, but I knew it would happen. So. Aged like milk, yes. Yeah, once this is done, this, and then published, and then I will send a message on the TWiG channel with a new screenshot as well. Zen mode. I need to lower my pressure. Yeah. Let's prepare it so we can tag it. I will need to open up the changes file. Oh. Of course, all of this stuff happens right after I said, okay, we have a deadline and we are going to release before like 7 p.m. And of course, what happens? This. Okay. Job succeeded. The branch should get merged. Perfect. Okay. So, now. Let's test it. Okay, now we'll have to dist it, generate the tarball with all the dependencies. I'll have to copy the artifacts inside my home directory so I can attach them to the release. In the meantime, let me open also this, and then we'll have to do this here. Okay. The disting process is a lot less problematic than I thought it would be back when I heard about what Rust projects have to do in order to be distributed. Like the shell script that vendors and everything is pretty easy to understand. It's literally taking all the artifacts that you already just built and shoving them into the final tarball. So that works. Editing this VOD will be fun. I mean, I don't edit VODs except for a couple of things, but editing this will be fun. I have a queue of VODs for the past week that have to be uploaded. Still, well, they are already uploaded. I need to go through them, add all the chapters into YouTube, and then publish them. We'll probably do I already have done one before the stream started. I will probably do another one tomorrow and on Sunday and on Monday, and I should have caught up most of it. But yeah, it's kind of complicated. And yeah, I had to do a couple of tweaks here and there. In one case, I had to remove the entirety of the the padding at the beginning of a stream, which I think I'll start doing. I mean, the 5 minutes at the beginning of a stream are usually just there for padding for me, to give me a little bit of time to set up the streaming. But in a VOD, they don't make much sense. And in a couple of cases, I inadvertently shown my private email and private calendar on stream, which isn't great. So I had to blur everything when I publish the VOD, so you don't read my email. Ah, come on. Speaking of VODs and streams, Twitch has started recommending me streamers that are, if not similar, at the very least, like in the same ballpark. So I started watching streamers that do like software development on stream, and I am so out of touch. I'm so out of touch with what people use these days. I've seen like a bunch of people that are actually working at startups that make command line utilities, like very fancy ones at that. I've seen stuff that the mind boggles. But command line tools in 2022, and now I understand why Go and Rust have this strong like position in the command line like mindshare and communities, because people are still using people are still writing new tools for the command line, new like not GUI, TUI tools, like terminal user interface like tools. I've seen like a Git repository browser that is basically just, it's pretty much incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Okay, so meson dist Amberol, everything to projects Amberol. Okay, so let's tag it Amberol 030. Then we are going to do this. Okay. And then we do meson build, bump it to 031. Okay. Yeah, I have heard about a bunch of utilities for Kubernetes read and go, but I've also seen like there's an entire startup called Charm. Let me see if I can find the Let me see here. Here we go. So there is this company here that does like stuff for the terminal, like terminal user interfaces that are like very basic, like this stuff here, but also this like bouncing stuff. It's like there's a demo and stuff. It's all written in Go, and it's amazing that, but also like an entire toolkit, a backend for your command line applications, an SSH client. So it's so weird. I've never seen like a physics based animation library in Go for your terminal. It's like, what? And it's great. I mean, the email address vt100@charm.sh is like chef's kiss, honestly. It's not something I would have expected at all. But yeah, and a lot of people like involved in this kind of companies, they just are on Twitch streaming as well. So it's very interesting to me. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's go to deployments, releases, new release 030. Amberol 030 snapshot, and then we are going to attach a file. There are already two files. Hi Bilal. New age of developer advocate work. Yes. It's so interesting, so bizarre. It's just, it shows me how out of touch I am with the rest of the current like best practices at this point. Okay, so create a release. We copy the link, so I can now go not here, but here. Okay, so where are you? Yeah, that's Amberol. So we change the URL for the release, and I need to get the for the turbo, and here we go. Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. We can remove this because the app data is different now, and we can push it. Okay. Here we are. So now we can go on the here. This week in GNOME. Trying to manage your election. Edit your or build playlist. And download latest version from Flathub. Need a and now I will attach a screenshot. Projects, Amberol, data, screenshots, here. Oh. I had no idea so much developer time goes for releasing an app. Yes, it's one of the most annoying bits of maintenance. It's so annoying. You have to do a lot of stuff. It takes forever and ever, especially when you are beset by the inequities of bad tooling. The tyranny of evil tools. Anyway, let's go back, because it's been 3 hours and a half and I finally ever released out. Oh god, what a pain. What a painful process. I'm surprised anybody at all releases stuff for Linux at this point. But it happened, so it worked. Everything worked out in the end. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed the show of me getting progressively more and more angry and just shouty at stuff. I do hope that you learned something else about how to like develop GNOME applications. But yeah, I mean, I love Linux too, otherwise I would not be here doing this. And yeah, I might have enough time to try and submit a quick presentation for GWADEC this year as well. I was thinking about how to phrase it, and luckily the deadline closes today, so I'll try to squeeze in. I'm not entirely sure it will get approved, but you know, gonna try it anyway. In any case, if you enjoy watching me suffer this much, then you can follow me on YouTube, where I upload the VODs for these streams. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitch here, and twitch.tv/Abassi. So you get notified every time I start streaming, which is typically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. For anybody else still here, I hope I didn't put you off developing stuff for Linux and GNOME. It's usually fun, especially if you don't have to do releases. It's usually fun. You get to do a lot of stuff, and you get to learn a lot of stuff. And then you get to rage. And you get to meet interesting people as well. But yeah, at this point, have a lovely rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. And I will definitely see you all again on Monday for a new stream. Bye.